Podcast 22. Now that we all see that the rates are dropping, what does that mean to you as a buyer? Does that mean it's time to buy, or should you hold on longer? Let's talk about it. What's up, guys? Paco the Realtor. The last two podcasts have been dedicated to talking about podcast 20 was about how the rates were going to start to drop. Podcast 21 was about how they had dropped. Now, let's talk about what that means, and is it a good time or not? Well, it really depends on your situation, but I think rates are going to get better. I think that you're absolutely going to be in a better position to do what you need to do. I did a video last week about how a client in April was going to buy a house for $650,000 and his payment was going to be $5,200. Well, that same client, we opened it escrow in the last week. His payment is now $4,200. That's $1,000 difference. That's massive. But he was ready. He was just waiting. He knew his numbers. He was just waiting for the rate to drop to about 6%, and he was going to pull the trigger. As I was doing this video, rates were at about a 6.3. Now, the Fed hasn't dropped any rates yet. It's just the statistics, the numbers, CPI, the inflation, cost of goods, all the stuff that's coming out that's leading people to expect that this is what's going to happen, is that rates will drop, and they're already adjusting towards it. Now, as a buyer, you need to have your numbers ready, meaning, what is the golden number that you need to pull that trigger? So, if I'm looking to buy a house, using that same example, $650,000, and I want my payment to be $4,000, I'll just give you an example. At what rate do I need that to hit for me to be close to that? If you know your numbers, when that happens, you pull the trigger. You're ready to rock and roll. Now, that doesn't mean that the rate's going to drop down, say, for example, to 5.9 or 6%. It means that you're going to be close enough where you can now ask for seller concessions. You could help buy down the rate. There's other things you can do. I mean, let's be honest. When you're at a 7.3, it don't matter what you do. You're not going to be able to get it to a 6%. It's going to cost you it's not going to happen. So, what is that golden number? You need to be ready with that. Most people don't know that number. They don't. This is specifically aimed at the people that you're waiting for the right time to buy. I'm not talking to the people that are going to pull a trigger regardless. They can afford it. It's not a big issue to them. I mean, they'd like to have their payment cheaper, but it's not a do or die. I'm talking to the individual that the difference between $5,200 and $4,200 is night and day. It's the difference between owning a house and having an apartment. It's the difference between paying rent and building future equity. It's the difference between owning your own home and your kids going to the right school district than living in an apartment somewhere you don't want to be. Know your number. And how do you know that number? You got to talk to a lender. If you don't have a lender, I'm more than happy to help you out. You got to know what your payment's going to be, what your rate's going to be, what your down payment's going to be, what your closing costs are going to be. You need to know all that. Make sure it's a 30-year fixed and not some variable loan. Once you know all those numbers, then you just sit back and wait for the right for the right time to hit. It might be already the right time. The rate already might be low enough for you to pull that trigger. Or let's say that you're off $400 and that $400 is a do or die. Because we already have your pre-qualification, we already know your current rate, your numbers, everything. It's easy for me to calculate and say, okay, in order for you to pull the trigger, you got to get this rate to this point. Well, guess what? Now it's just a waiting game. It's waking up every morning and being like, rates are there. Let's pull the trigger. The biggest mistake you're going to make as a buyer is that you're going to be late to the dance. Is that you're going to wait for the rates to drop, be in the news for a while, then say, you know what, maybe it's time to pull the trigger, and the market's already going to be flooded with the buyers, and you're going to lose out, and now there's going to be a lot more competition. Know your numbers. Be ready. Be ready. It just surprises me how many people wait till the last second. It's unbelievable to me. And you're so behind the 8 ball when you do that. The other thing is let's assume that you and your family are out for a walk on a Saturday, and you see an open house. You walk in and it's a perfect house. And the listing agent says, oh, we're going to be presenting offers on Sunday night. I just gave you an example. Or Monday. You're not pre-qualified. You don't have your numbers ready. You can't make an offer on that house, and you just lost the option to make an offer on that house. The opportunity, I apologize, to make an offer on that house. You have to be ready. And this goes for the people that are selling their house and buying another house. In other words, you're going to sell your house to buy a bigger house, a smaller house, move to a different city, different school district, whatever it may be. You, my friend, need to know 2 numbers. You need to know how much money you're going to net from the sale of your house, to know how much money you're going to put down on your future house, to then know what that golden number is. Always start with data, not emotions. Do you know how many people call me and tell me they found their perfect home? They went to an open house, they want to make an offer. And there's nothing we can do. They're not pre-qualified. There's no credit report run. There's no pre-qualification. There's no lender. They reach out to a lender, and the lender says, okay, I need all your stuff, but it's the weekend. So now they got to go get bank statements, check stubs, everything. And if you're organized, it might be easy for you to get it like this. If you're not, then it isn't. And that creates a problem because now you can't get all the data to get pre-qualified. And your indecisiveness just costs you your dream, potentially your dream home. If you're going to pull the trigger in the next 6 months because rates are going to drop, do me a favor. Do me a very, very large favor. Pull the trigger, but be ready. It's like wanting to go to a concert, a Taylor Swift concert, or I just use Taylor Swift because I know she sells out all her arenas. It's like knowing that her concert's going to sell out, but you got to be ready. When that clock strikes 12 o'clock in the afternoon and they open up the bidding, you got to go on that website and immediately start to try to buy that ticket right before they sell out. What happens if you're the person that wasn't prepared, you heard about it, you jump in, and now it's too late, and now you have to pay double the price because now you got to buy from a third-party vendor because they already bought it or whatever it is. Probably a bad example, but that's what I think of when I think of buyers that aren't ready. Don't be that person. So do me a favor. Know your numbers and go your golden number. If you don't know your golden number, call me. Call me.